majibu.
The number of people who have been kidnapped by people believed to be police officers has been on the rise. Some are found dead, while those who are lucky to return home, they never talk of their experience in the hands of their captors. In this episode of The Inside Source, we have traveled to Lamu and Mombasa, and we shine a light on these cases. My name is Kagonye. Nairobi, Friday, November 19th, 2021. It is not clear whether he is being arrested or abducted from his car along Loitoktok Road in Kileleshwa. The presence of a police officer would make one think it's a normal arrest. It is from this spot that Ethiopian national Samson Teklemichael was picked by 3 men, bundled into a Subaru Forester that then drove away. And despite the men who took him being caught on video and there being a CCTV camera less than 100 meters from the spot where he was taken, his whereabouts remain unknown. Samson Teklemichael is half Eritrean and half Tigrayan. He has lived in Kenya for more than 16 years, and for the last 5 years, he has operated his liquefied petroleum gas business between Ethiopia and Kenya, together with his wife, Milen Halefom. On the fateful day, his wife says that he had gone for a late lunch meeting with his friends when the incidents took place on his way back home. Before he was taken away, he called and told her that there were some men who wanted to kidnap him.
You know, when you get that threat, you'll be careful and you'll be advanced, or I will know. By now, I would have known where to go.
According to Halefom, Teklemichael had not expressed any fears for his life or threats before his abduction. The matter was reported at the Kilimani police station, and they have since filed a habeas corpus in court. However, she says the investigations have not moved much. A search on the NTSA portal shows that the registration number on this car that took him belongs to a lorry owned by Jacob Wandera and the Kenya Commercial Bank.
There's nothing we have done to be treated like this. There's a law, there's a court, and this is not something difficult to bring it to court if they have an evidence and if he has done something.
Police spokesperson Bruno Shioso denies police were involved, saying that they are still investigating the matter. The traffic officer who was at the scene in his report said that these men introduced themselves as police officers, and that's why he helped them.
As a police service, we have nothing to do with that. All we are doing is, again, trying to investigate. You brought up the issue of the vehicle used, and you see that I was talking about the techniques for the crooks. They'll try to behave as close as possible to the police. They know that you drive Subarus, so they made sure they have a Subaru vehicle. So in short, we are still investigating, but there are those dead ends I've mentioned about the vehicle, about the identity.
Halefom has been campaigning for the release of the father of her 3 children. She started an online petition and has been using social media where the videos of his abduction were first posted.
It pains me seeing them suffering, seeing them like crying for their daddy. They are always asking me, is he alive? Are you sure, mommy? Have you talked to him? Have you seen him? Have you? You're not torturing anyone. You're torturing the kids.
Teklemichael joins the growing list of foreigners who have been abducted in Kenyan soil and have gone missing. On May 3rd, 2021, Selahaddin Gulen, a nephew of Islamic preacher Fethullah Gulen, was kidnapped as he left the Directorate of Criminal Investigations head offices, where he had gone to seek help from Interpol to clear his name over allegations that he was involved in crime in Turkey. A Turkish national who was kidnapped alongside him was released 2 days later. Turkey would later release a statement saying Gulen had been captured by the country's national intelligence organization from a foreign country and was being held by the anti-terrorism police unit. Police on their part say Kenya does not work with foreign agents.
If a country wants to follow somebody they have an interest in, and they'll do it, not officially. They won't come here knocking, they're talking to the Kenya police that you want to do this. They'll just come in like a tourist, do whatever they want to do, whichever way around. I don't want to speak about that. All I can say is that we don't cooperate with them, and you don't know who are these people, and you would love to know who they are.
On July 2021, Biafra separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu disappeared from Kenya before reappearing in a Nigerian court. Lawyers representing his family accused the Nigerian government of state kidnap, claiming that Kanu was abducted by Nigerian officials in Kenya and renditioned to Nigeria against his will. Both the Kenyan and Nigerian governments have denied involvement in his kidnapping. In 2017, lawyer Dong Samuel Luak and writer Agri Edri Ezibon were kidnapped in broad daylight from Nairobi on January 23rd and 24th. A United Nations panel of experts on South Sudan released a report which says the two were kidnapped by the International Security Bureau (ISB) under the orders of its Director General Lieutenant General Akol Kurkuk. ISB is part of the country's National Security Service or NSS. Luak and Ezibon were moved from Kenya to Juba on January 27th in a chartered flight with the help of the country's embassy. They were briefly held at the NSS Blue House facility before they were moved to the NSS Detention and Training Facility in Lori. They would later be killed at the facility on January 30th, 2017, which is part of a sprawling President and Security Service complex.
It's not possible for somebody to come from another country to do a joint operation with us.
The disappearance of Tekle Michael came days after President Uhuru Kenyatta jetted back into the country from Ethiopia. Halefom recently petitioned the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to explain the whereabouts of her husband.
Since the abduction of Samson Tekle Michael Gabrajgi 3 months ago, there has been no feedback from the police to indicate his whereabouts.
While the Ethiopian ambassador to Kenya, Meles Alem Tikea, demanded that the Kenyan government explains the whereabouts of Samson Tekle Michael.
I need justice for my husband, I need justice for my children, and I need justice for myself.
The coastal region is a tourism gem. The beaches where the ocean has limits are a home to tourists from within and outside our borders. This place is an attractive lure to unwind, recharge, and forget your worries for a moment. The beauty and exclusiveness that adorns this place makes it look like everything is okay. And from afar it may be, but it is not. This region for years has been losing its young men in ways that cannot be explained. Different people suspected of being involved in terrorism have gone missing after they were arrested by people who introduced themselves as police officers. Some are later found dead. Locals here blame the Kenya Anti-Terrorism Police Unit, the National Intelligence Service, and the General Service Unit's Rapid Response Team. Police on their part maintain that they are not to blame and are working to get these perpetrators. There have been several high-profile killings of terror suspects. Sheikh Abu Drogo and his close friend Sheikh Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi, who were shot dead in cold blood, top the list. Another case is that of Sheikhs Mohammed Qasim and Samir Khan, who were abducted by men with guns on April 10, 2012 from the Likoni Channel. They were bundled into a Toyota Probox and disappeared. Khan's body was found 2 days later along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway, while Qasim's body is yet to be found. Investigations into their killings and disappearances have not yielded much. The USA's interest in Kenya's fight against terror has largely been shaped by events of October 1993 that took place in Somalia. 2 Black Hawk helicopters were shot down and bodies of American soldiers dragged through the streets of Mogadishu. The USA, which was leading a UN mission to end the civil war and famine in Somalia, withdrew from the country after just 6 months. 4 years later, the name Al-Qaeda and terrorism would dominate the world headlines after the August 7, 1998 twin truck bomb attacks on the American embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. More than 200 people were killed, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations placed Osama bin Laden, the then leader of the terror group, among its top 10 most wanted fugitives. The men said to be behind the attacks are Abdullah Ahmed Abdullah and Fazul Mohammed. Abdullah was killed on August 7, 2020 by a Mossad sniper in Iran, while Fazul Mohammed was killed by the Somali National Army in the streets of Mogadishu on June 7, 2011. Fast forward to the year 2002, and the Paradise Hotel in Kikambala, Kilifi County, was bombed by an SUV, killing 13 people and injuring 80 others. In the second attack, a missile was launched at an airplane owned by Israel-based Akia Airlines as it took off from the Moi International Airport. Police would later discover a missile launcher and 2 missile casings in Changamwe. As a result of these 2 attacks, the USA became actively involved in the war against terror. A number of Kenyans were arrested and renditioned to different locations, including Ethiopia and Djibouti, where they were briefly held and interrogated. Most of them came back home. But one Kenyan, Muhammad Abdul Malik Bajabu, was taken to the notorious Bagram prison in Afghanistan. He is said to have confessed of his involvement in the 2002 bombings, and he was moved to the Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba on March 2007. Bajabu was recently cleared for release by the Periodic Review Board (PRB). For the 14 years that he spent at the facility, he was never charged with committing any crime, and the USA held him as a law of war detainee. Documents from his PRB hearings show that he confessed to planning and executing the twin attacks in Mombasa. His repatriation will prove a headache to his Kenyan family, since Kenya has previously denied that he is Kenyan. Likoni constituency in Mombasa County. 5 men are taken by people who introduce themselves as police officers on diverse dates in the month of February 2021. Azizi was released, but he has never told anyone what he went through in the hands of his captors. Hamisi and Bakaya were found dead at the Coast General Hospital morgue, while Tengeza and Mwanyota are still missing. Misikiti miwili in Likoni. Sauda Omar had shared this house with her husband Bakari Mwanyota for 10 years, but that is not the case anymore. She does not know where he is, but she has a clue and some bit of evidence on who took him. On the fateful day, she says, she was in bed when they had a loud knock on their door at around midnight. The people who were knocking claimed to be police officers, and before she could open it, the more than 10 men had broken in.
Wakaanza kumchukua mume wangu, wakamtia pingu, wakamlaza hapa chini. Mimi wakanisukuma ndani, nilikuwa niko na mtoto nimembeba. Ananiambia mama ingia hapo ndani. Nikakaa ndani na watoto wote. Lakini sikujua hapo katikati walimlaza chini nikimuona, nikiingia ndani sikujua waendelea nini, wamesimama. Na waliingia askari kama hao ndio waona kama askari 5.
The men would go on to ransack the whole house, telling her that they were looking for something.
Waliingia kila room wakasearch. Wakamwaga nguo kwenye makabati, wakabeba simu, kisha mattress pia wakaiondoa, hawakuona kitu. Akasema hamna kitu, lakini akamwambia wale watoto, jamazeni sisi tuenda na baba yenu, lakini msiwe na wasiwasi, atarudi, tuenda tu kwa mahojiano mpaka saa hii. Baadaye ndipo nikiangalia vitu vyangu vile wamemwaga, nikapata vingine hakuna. Kama hizo vyeti vya ndoa hakuna, karatasi zote zile za kazini.
They took her phone and that of her husband. One officer would later tell Sauda they have taken Mwanyota for interrogation, and if she was interested in following up the matter, she should follow them to Nairobi, but they did not specify where exactly.
Au wenyewe ndo waliniambia sisi ni ofisa wa polisi kutoka Nairobi.
Ilikuwa inaonyesha kama weupe kutokana na mwangaza wa taa za barabarani, na hapo ndipo nilipoona hawa watu weupe walikuwa kwa mmoja mkono wa kulia na mmoja mkono wa kushoto, na mapolisi wengine wako. Lakini wale hawa watu weupe walikuwa kwa hawana silaha, sikuona na silaha yote, silaha zilikuwa kwa hao wengine. Na hao wengine nao pia sikujua kasa ni weupe wana nini, lakini walikuwa wamevaa hizo makofia na zile tauli ambazo za kijeshi wanazozivaa, na kila mmoja alikuwa na bunduki yake.
No, all police operations are within the law, and there's no law that allows us to do any operation with the foreign.
Hours have turned into days, days into weeks, and weeks into months, and she does not know the whereabouts of her husband and the father of her 5 children.
Waniuliza kwani hawa polisi walimchukua baba kwa makosa gani? Mimi hata sina jibu la kuwajibu watu.
A few kilometers from her house, we meet this old man. His name is Juma Athman Bakaya. His old age signals a lot of wisdom, but one issue has proved too good for his wisdom. Who are the men who killed his son Juma Athman Omari Bakaya? His burial attracted the young and the old, perhaps to celebrate a life lost too soon. But one question remains: how did Omari Bakaya meet his death? Omari was a father of 2, and to his father, he was his sole breadwinner. But all that has since been taken away from him. His body lay at the morgue for 7 days, as his family continued with the search.
Asubuhi akaja bibi yake ananiambia, nyinyi mko hapa lakini kule kwangu yule mwenzangu amekuja chukuliwa na polisi, simjui mpelekwa polisi ya wapi. Ushaona? Hapo tukakata shauri, tukasema twende tafuta vituo vya polisi. Tukifika Inuka hayuko, hapo station polisi ya Likoni hayuko. Ushaona bwana? Tukazunguka hiyo majengo hatukumpata karibu siku 3.
Omari lived in Inuka with his wife and children, which is not far from his father's house. On the fateful day, his family says people who introduced themselves as police officers came to his house looking for a man called Juma. Away from his ordeal near his father's house, a 17-year-old boy, Hamisi Mwinyi, was also picked by people witnesses said are police officers.
Hapo askari akasema, nyinyi huyo mwana wenu alifanya nini? Tukamwambia huyo alikuja akashikwa usiku kwake nyumbani, akaambiwa wewe ndiye Juma Mpandio. Akasema la, mimi ni Juma Omari Athumani Bakaya. Ushaona bwana? Hapo akasema basi sasa kama mna hivyo mwatafuta sababu yake nini? Tukamwambia hatujui, yeye yuko kando, alikuja akamchukua. Basi ilikuwa ni usiku, hatujui alikwenda naye wapi wala alikwenda naye wapi.
After a fruitless search, the family decided to look at the morgues as their last option. They found his body alongside another body booked in as Juma as well. Also among the bodies was that of Hamisi Mwinyi.
Pofika tufutia lile beseni lao lile, tukiangalia tuona watu wawili. Huyo mmoja ni bwana Juma, mmoja ni huyo, kumbe ni mtu wangu lakini pia simjui mimi. Wanilazwa pahali pamoja. Tuambiwa hamu angalieni kati ya hapa nani. Tukaangalia mwambia ni huyu hapa.
His father says that it took the intervention of the area MP Mishimboko to have police combat that were on the 3 bodies removed. He says the bodies also had signs of torture.
Si walimuua, mimi tutafikiria ni wao tu waliomkamata. Kwani alikwenda kauliwa watu wengine, ni hao waliomuua.
Not far from his house, we meet Saumu Hamisi Mwanyere. She says she has made peace with the fact that her son Ali Tengeza is missing. Her ordeal is not different from Sauda's. She however says that the men who took her son physically assaulted her, asking where her son was keeping weapons and his smartphone.
Nikampatia ya mamangu na yangu. Akaenda kwa kijana wangu akachukua simu zote 2, akaingia kwa Ali akangangana, leta ile simu ya touch. Akamwambia mimi sina, ni ya button.
On the fateful day, she says, the men who looked like police officers broke into her house and ordered her and the children to lie down on the floor as they continued with their search for the said weapons.
Tengeza akamka, ndo mimi, lala chini. Akalala chini, wakamnyanyua, wakamweka kando, wakaenda naye kwa room, wakazunguka naye kwa hiyo room yake.
After they came up empty, they started probing her about some of the items in her son's house, telling her that her son is part of the Al-Shabaab terror group operating from Mombasa.
Ujui kama huyu mtoto wako ni mbaya, ni Al-Shabaab.
The men would later take her son with them. I did not tell her where they were taking him or give her a chance to bid him goodbye, and that was the last time she ever saw or heard from him.
Sasa wakatoka wale wote, sikujua Ali wameenda naye wapi wala wameenda wapi.
All she wants now is to have her son back, dead or alive, saying she is ready for any outcome.
Wanirudishie mtoto, na kama hata amefariki pia naomba waniletee nizike, ino nafsi yangu ipate kushukuru kabisa.
The inside source also traveled to Lamu, a place that had become synonymous with attacks from the terror group. Here, the group had a soft target, one where they could hit and go hiding inside Boni Forest. The Lamu Island is attractive to tourists. Here, they get to enjoy some of Kenya's breathtaking views of the Indian Ocean. The people here are enthusiastic, be it the coxswain, the fisherman, or the attendant at the hotel where you have your meals or spend the night. On June 19, 2021, Yasir Mohamud, a businessman and a driver of the King Fahad ambulance, was abducted by men who presented themselves as police. He was in the company of his first wife and eldest son. Yasir Mohamud was driving along this road, and it is at this point that he was stopped by people believed to be police officers. He was picked and he has never been seen since then. Yasir is the second born to Ahmad Abubakar alias Mau, a Lamu-based Muslim preacher. His name has now been added to the ever-growing list of people whose whereabouts remain unknown, despite there being clues and some partial evidence of who disappeared them.
Iliposimamishwa wakateremka askari watatu, ambaye wawili walikuwa na bunduki, mmoja alikuwa na pistol. Wakawaambia wale wateremke, ule mtoto na mama, wakawaelekeza kwamba nendeni upande huo na msigeuke nyuma.
Baada ya muda kama dakika 5-10 wakizunguka hivi, Yasir amechukuliwa na wale special force. Mpaka sahihi kutoka muda huo mpaka sahihi hatujamuona Yasir, hatujui yuko wapi.
Prior to his abduction, Yasir had been questioned a number of times by the police.
Walimuita, kenda wakamchunguza mara 2-3, wakamfungia account zake za benki, na ilikuwa tuhuma ya wakati ule ni kwamba yeye husaidiana na magaidi wa Shabab kwa mambo ya pesa.
The family went to the Malindi High Court and filed a habeas corpus. Their application was allowed and the order given to the Inspector General of Police to produce Yasir in court, which is yet to happen. His father argues that his son has worked with the KDF in construction works inside Somalia, and its intelligence unit would have known of his involvement with any terror activities.
Mara 2 malori yake imewahi hayakupigwa, lakini nimelema bomu ya kuweka chini, ilikanyaga mara 2 zikaumia. Lakini kama ingekuwa ni kweli, bila shaka wangekuwa na communication, wakamwambia leo sipite saa fulani ama namna hiyo.
His wife was too shaken to talk to us, and she has a reason to. Yasir's father was visited by police officers posing as human rights activists, and Yasir's other wife, who lives in Kiunga, had men try to break into her shop.
Kisha siku ya pili yake mara 3 waliporudi, polisi walikwenda kuinspeksheni pale dukani, kufanya uchunguzi na kuangalia.
The car that Yasir was traveling in on that day is at the Mpeketoni police station. His family says he had purchased it not long before his abduction, and the transfer process from its previous owner was not complete yet. Mari Ramtu is the executive director of the Muslim for Human Rights Muhuri organization. The organization has been tracking murders, kidnapping and disappearing of men suspected to be involved in terror activities.
We have around 24 active cases around enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings that we are actively following up on.
Ramtu argues that some of these operations to flush out terror suspects and sympathizers have always infringed on the rights of the suspects, and this only makes the work of the authorities harder.
For this man to actually find radicalization attractive, to avenge the father's death, okay, death or no death, but the fact that he still disappeared, we don't know his status, then in a way the government is also contributing to this cycle of just breeding terrorists.
As an advocate, Mbogwa Mureithi has been involved in counterterrorism cases for a while now. He and activist Alamin Kimathi were imprisoned in Uganda when they went to follow up on the rendition of 13 Kenyans who were taken to the country to face trial over their alleged roles in the 2010 Kampala bombings. He believes that the injustice that has been meted on the young men, most of them Muslims, should worry every Kenyan.
These are human rights violations, and therefore they are incidents that violate the Constitution of Kenya and international human rights treaties that Kenya has ratified. So everybody ought to be concerned that these things are happening. They become entrenched as a culture within the security agencies, and therefore they may probably attain a life of their own.
He believes that there are better and effective ways to combat terrorism and violent extremism, other than disappearing and killing men suspected to be engaging in terror activities.
Instead of us trying to follow the constitutionally laid down procedures, we would rather erect a criminal enterprise to deal with the problem.
He says that the abductors are well known, and he says it is a shame that no one wants to take credit because even the police themselves know that what the abductors do to the young men is a violation of their rights.
These are known people. Secondly, I think I would want to blame the media to an extent, because some of these terminologies are descriptions that are repeated by the press. That instead of giving a description of those who encountered the victim and abducted the victim, the choice of word is unknown persons. Give a description.
He says the longer these violations take, the easier it becomes to recruit young men, since the terrorists will use the human rights violations as a loophole and offer terror as a way out and a fight back.
Kill one suspected terrorist because no proof has been availed to court or to any public forum. You then create space for recruiters to recruit not one, a host of those who feel aggrieved that their brothers and sisters are being targeted. So it's counterproductive.
In November 2021, the Kenyan government released a list of 5 most wanted men suspected to be terrorists, offering 10 million shillings reward for any information that may lead to the arrest of each one of them. Trevor Ndwiga, aka Idris Jamal, the high school student, was out on bond after being arraigned in court over terrorism charges. He is from Hamza in Nairobi. Police reported that he had crossed over to Somalia, but his family says on the day he is said to have crossed over, Ndwiga was spotted in Hamza for 2 consecutive days. Until his recent capture in the DRC, Salim Rashid Mohammed, aka Chotara or Turkey, was in this list. Salim is the leader of the Allied Defense Forces terror group ADF, which is in the DRC, and the Kenyan authorities had named him as a member of the Islamic State or Daesh, which is based in Mozambique.
Siku tatu haukuli.
Alikuwa nikipita pori nikiona chakula hii mandizi imeanguka na chukua ninakula hivi. Nikipita mahali kuna maji na kunywa.
Police linked him to criminal activities in the South Coast region and say that he was planning to sneak back into the country and carry out attacks. Barigi Abdikadir Haila, who police say is armed and dangerous. He hails from Manyata Burji area in Marsabit County. Mohamed Abubakar, aka Minshawari, went missing from his parents' home in Kibokoni, Mombasa, and his family suspect he is in the hands of police. Police say that he traveled to join Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Elgiva Buire Oliacha, aka Saif Din Mohammed, or Abu Muad, was convicted and jailed of terror activities. He was released on October 28, 2021. His family says that he alighted their vehicle at the city center, from where it is believed he was abducted together with his lawyer, Professor Ali Hassan Nandwa. His family members were also abducted but later released. It is widely believed that Buire and other terror suspects who have gone missing before and after him, as well as those who have been found dead, were kidnapped by police, a claim vehemently denied by police spokesperson Bruno Shioso, who maintains that police conduct themselves within the confines of the law.
For us as police, we are a law enforcement agency with a very clear duty, with a very clear responsibility and mandate to protect people and their property as part of the Bills of Rights. So it can't be now the same as with such a responsibility, which is very onerous, to be the ones now violating the Constitution. We don't do that.
As more dead bodies continue to be discovered in different parts of this country and the police maintaining that they're not behind these killings, post-mortem results show that these men were tortured before they were killed, which adds more weight to the biggest question to our security apparatus. Who is killing our men and why? Fred Kagonye for the Inside Source.